hot August. Zach Reeder is going to be our speaker, and Zach, I'll turn this around so you can see. He is a test pilot, flight test, and project engineer at Scale Composites and Stratolaunch. And he graduated from Texas A&M, and proud of it. He is a big, tall Texan, but he's a great guy, and he's got an interesting presentation where he kind of takes the audience through how an engineer decides on how to build an airplane. And so that's what the audience is going to be doing, building a small airplane, and he's going to have them be making the decisions.
Right here in this room.
Right here in this very room. And I talked to Rebecca last night, and he did not go to Oshkosh this year. He was getting the catbird ready. They're doing some interior work. They're going to go visit with Bert and make sure Bert approves, because that used to be his airplane, and Zach has it now. So I told him I want that on display because it is very unusual. Then I want to jump ahead a little bit to September. On the 17th, we're going to have plane train crazy. And the reason we've invited the Tehachapi Loop Railroad Model Railroad Club is we're going to celebrate Mojave's 140th anniversary. It's this year that Mojave will be 140. And so we're going to have some scale trains, 7.5-inch gauge trains. Mike Massey's going to bring some of his friends with trains. And Bill Deaver, our local railroad historian, will tell us about the trains here in Mojave and when the Southern Pacific first came here in 1876. And if you're interested to read about the history of Mojave, get this book, Along the Rails from Lancaster to Mojave, and Bill's mother, Marion, wrote the history of Mojave in here. I'll give this to you, Karina, so you'll have it. And then Bill, he wrote quite a number of pages on the history of the railroad in Mojave. So pretty neat stuff, and so much has happened here. And of course we added to the list of accomplishments that have happened in Mojave because of what's happened here at the spaceport. So we're kind of excited about that, and some of the elected officials will be here, and if they can't be here, they're sending resolutions. So I think it'll be a nice time, and then you may be having your new little one at that time. But I'll give you this book so you can read about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Autograph.
Oh, yeah, and Bill will autograph it.
So beginning with action item A, Directors and Officers Liability and Employment Practices Insurance Renewal. Just going to touch on the highlights, and then for any in-depth discussion I'll defer to Carrie. So the new policy period covers 26 July 16 to 26 July 17. There's a policy increase of $834 for the new policy with an annual cost of $26,753. Along with that, there's an additional option to purchase terrorism insurance for $133.
Any other directors have any questions, comments? The audience? Any motion?
I see in here it says the policy also includes an option to obtain terrorist insurance coverage.
Yes, sir.
They'll take the whole
Recommend or not
$133.
recommend?
They did, at the bottom, the recommended actions to all three.
Yeah, Duncan does strongly recommend it. He in fact already pre-filled out the forms and checked the box for us.
It's $133 more
For
per
the
year.
year, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, runway 422. By the way, you guys have a uniform thing going now? Or did somebody die?
John's is blue.
Well, from here it looks darker. Go ahead.
So regarding the GPS approach to runway 0422, gentlemen, the FAA implemented an airport geographic information system, and it's really been a multi-year process, and it's supposed to be the database for all airport approach departure procedures throughout the national airspace system. Our 0422 approach was identified by the FAA as not having an obstacle survey on file. Through discussions with the FAA, they've determined that, well, they've given us a deadline of 21 October 2016 in order to maintain our approaches on file and in publication. We've solicited 4 bids, and we've selected, with your approval, Kimley Horn for $49,500 to conduct the FAR 77 obstacle survey 0422. Additionally, Kimley Horn has also put together, as well as some of the other solicitors, such as RSH, have put together bids that also encompass an AOP update or the potential for FAR 77 construction surveys for the rest of the remainder of our runways, as well as the potential for vertical launch feasibility studies. But in this case, we've just broken out the 0422 in order to get that in by 21 October of this year.
Okay.
Is this firm fixed price?
Yes, sir.
And what's our guarantee? They're gonna deliver a FAA compliant obstacle thing, and if it's not compliant, then they have to do it over?
Yes, sir. Well, they would have to do it over, but we would then miss the timeline. So the guarantee is that they get it done within the timeline required. But if they miss that guarantee, then we lose out. So
They've done this before.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. They've done this before.
So what's the
They've done work
penalty?
for
What's
us
their penalty if they miss the deadline?
I'm sorry. No, sir. They have not done any work for us before. And I'm sorry, Dr. Peterson?
What's their penalty if they miss the deadline?
I have not gone over that potential yet, sir. I don't have an answer for that question.
What are the projection for number of days of work to complete?
It'll be an 18-week project, so they'd get it in just in time, sir. And that would go for any company currently that would submit a bid.
Any other questions?
I
In the audience?
question. What do they, what's the list of things that they do to see if there's any obstacles for 4 and 22?
Okay.
I'm sure, it just seems like a lot of money. I mean, you could fly over it and see if there's obstacles.
Right,
But
right,
there must be something more.
No, well, yes, part of it is putting it into the Geographic Information System database, but
Gotcha.
what they do is, you're right, they do fly over, they do take telemetry data information, then they run it through the system, put it into the Geographic Information database. That's part of it. The other part of it is the checks and balances that the FAA requires, the scope of work, the approval process through the FAA. Additionally, then they run the approach departure algorithms to make sure that it is an approach that we can maintain.
Do they take any of the liability involved for wrong information? I would assume they have an insurance carrier and would have to
Right.
cover something.
The FAA does have insurance, but that's the insurance that's provided through any normal airport operations. It's not specifically to 0422 or to Mojave Air and Spaceport in general. It's just protection of the national airspace system and navigable airways as a whole. I hope that answers your question, sir.
The only thing that concerns me is, you know, you have 2 bids in the middle of the road, you have one that's outrageous, and you have these guys who left $30,000 on the table.
Exactly.
That makes you worry about, you know, lowest bidder isn't always the best bidder.
Right. We had that concern as well, but we met with them several times. They've done this information before, this scope of work before, and as a matter of fact, the gentleman who I did meet, Mr. Gilbert, he actually worked for RSH. So they are a reputable firm. We did meet with them. We did like the proposal. I think the increase in price of some of the other companies comes with the larger overhead that they have to carry. So.
Well, one of the things they'll do is fly over my house, because everybody uses it when they fly over my house.
And I'll bet you if they do this before us again, there won't be $30,000 left on the table.
Probably not, yes.
They're actually very thorough. When we met with them, they pulled our previous board reports, so they know our business well. But the other difference between Kimley Horn and some of these others is they're very hungry for the business. So we got the full bids for all these different companies to do the ALP and some of the other studies for us, including the GPS approach. So on the ALP, they were pretty much right in line with a lot of these others. RS&H, we originally engaged them on a potential different project, and they're kind of the big dog in that area, in that field. So we think that's why they came in much higher than anybody else.
Okay. Any other questions, audience? Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Kimley Horn for $49.5 for the, whatever you call it, the state.
As recommended.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This item was previously discussed and tabled during the 19 July 2016 meeting. So we're re-engaging, seeking a capital expenditures purchase approval for hangar 942 for a total of $51,858. The slight increase in price is due to the slight improvements that they made to the hangar, which was the footings on the hangar. The sub-base was not properly installed, is what I've been told. So the hangar kind of jig-legged the doors, so footings had to be installed in order to square it up.
Okay. Any questions? Audience? Okay, there's a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Tonight's National Night Out.
Yes.
Okay. So tonight is National Night Out at Mojave High School parking lot. We are participating. We'll have our fire truck there in addition to CHP, Kern County Fire, Kern County Sheriff should also be out there. So if anyone happens to make it out there, we'll be participating in that. In terms of what's written in the report, the only thing that I wanted to really discuss with the board, unless the board had any other items they wanted to discuss, was the proposal for the hangar pricing. So I had mentioned a couple of meetings ago about making this draft, presenting this draft to the board. Director Evans made this request that we have the discussion today so that he can participate in the discussion when he returns and the potential vote. So what I wanted to do today is try to get some feedback from the directors on this draft, and so we can revise it and come back to the board on the 16th for a vote on how we actually do the pricing. So I'm hoping that all the directors had an opportunity to read through this. And I can tell you what, at the end of the day, what I'm after is there's one hangar in particular that I have in mind that's actually in really good condition. It faces east. It's got an added power. It's got an office, and it's got a swamp cooler. In my opinion, that hangar should be priced the same as every other hangar on the flight line, which is 50 cents a square foot. So my objective here was to change the prices as in such a way that the hangars that have the best amenities are the same prices that all the companies on the flight line are paying for, essentially, because it has the same amenities. It might not be as big, but it has the same amenities. So the rates, the prices airport-wide range from 35 cents to 50 cents, depending on where it is. And even the warehouses in the industrial area that have no power, no water, are still running at 35 cents a square foot. And our T hangars, by comparison, are running at 12 cents a square foot. We haven't had a price increase on the T hangars since 2003. So when a T hangar empties out, it's actually written in the admin code that that's going to be the rate for the T hangar. So we have to follow that policy, and those hangars are still running at that rate. So this is what I'm suggesting that we do to revise the prices. I'd really like to get the board's input.
Director?
Well, I wanted to hear what she had to say before I spent a lot of time thinking about it, so I've got that input. I would like to spend some more time thinking about it, so I have no direct input.
Okay.
Any other directors?
I like the idea. I think we do need to get the prices up to where we need to be in line with everything else that's running in the airport.
Uniform.
There's really no urgency here. The one thing is, we have 2 hangars that we acquired recently that are empty currently because we don't have values assigned to those hangars. So the sooner we can get some prices assigned to the hangars, the sooner we can fill those hangars. That's really the only urgency, otherwise there really isn't.
I think the T hangers need to come up with everything else if they're that far behind the price schedule. There's no lack of renters for T hangers. They're always in demand. And I think a lot of times they're in demand because they're so cheap and people just put junk in it instead of an airplane.
That is the case, unfortunately.
Why the north/west versus the south/east? I can understand the west and east. I can understand the north on the ones that are right on the taxiway by 08 there. But why the other north ones? If you're in the 3rd row back north, why is that
I'm hearing from a lot of those hangar owners that the dust is just as bad in those. If they're north facing, I mean, the ones that are right on the flight line are probably getting hammered more than anybody else. But even the north facing ones, Kathy, you might have an opinion about that. Even the north facing hangars that are a couple rows back are still getting hammered with the dust.
Kathy's got a north facing here.
No, she's,
Yeah, this is north.
Yeah, we've got one of the ones on the flight line.
Yeah.
Oh, your main hangar's north,
Oh, yeah.
northeast.
It really is.
yeah,
And it really gets hammered.
Yeah, I question a little bit there. I was in hangar 911 for a few years, and it was a south-facing hangar. The roof link, there was not enough power to run a vacuum cleaner as there was power in it. It literally has holes everywhere, big ones. It was just, the plane was always covered, that we just put canvas over the plane to keep the dirt off of it. So north-south really didn't matter there. The roof leaked, there wasn't enough power. So it may have to go a little more of a case by case, because some of these are just in bad shape. I know some of them, when it rains, there's actually an inch of standing water in them. It doesn't drain.
Does the admin code specify a price?
it does for T hangars.
Can the admin code not specify a schedule that can be updated as required?
Sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
On a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could, on a schedule, you could go hangar by hangar and put a price on it.
And that's what I was originally thinking of doing. I just didn't want to have to burden the board with coming back every time we want to rent a new hangar and assign a
Well,
price.
that's why I
for
think
that
if you
hangar.
put it on a schedule,
Yeah.
you can, on a schedule, you can have 100 things on there, but if you have to change the admin code every time, that's a big.
Right.
Maybe you need to do a survey of all the hangars that we own and come up with that schedule.
Yeah.
And then as we do upgrades to those hangars, you either do fix roofs or whatever price comes up.
And that's the intent, is if we start increasing the prices, we really need to start investing in those buildings because they're in really rough shape. It's hard to justify when somebody's paying $100 a month to invest $5,000 in a hangar, because it's just so long before we can recoup that investment.
But as we're purchasing these, we need to make sure they're up to par, and we ask full top dollar for rent, and that they're in good shape to rent out for that dollar.
Yeah.
As we own them, or as leases come up, we can do the upgrades, and when the price comes up, so eventually we're all in the same ballpark and all of the same quality.
Right.
And I noticed, I think the ones we've purchased are actually hangars that are built up on a raised foundation to some degree, where some of the older T hangars that we own were actually just built right on the tarmac right there. And that's, I know a couple of cases where when it rains or any sort of water comes down, it actually funnels into a couple of hangars and just sits there. And I don't know how to address that other than.
Put drains in them.
Or raise them up.
Concrete's that thick.
Yeah, it's
Literally
the,
it is.
it's the old flight line.
But-
It's really thick.
I agree that some of those need some attention, and it justifies the means and to the end of it. You know, I could hardly run a battery truck. It was almost a wasted circuit. That 60-watt bulb was in. It was that bad.
I know that hangar. I used it and flew at night, and you can't see it.
Can't see anything.
Do we have a drainage plan for the airport?
Plan?
Yeah.
You mean schematics?
Well, yeah, just a drainage plan for the airport.
As far as I know, Kevin might know the answer to that, yeah?
Yes, there's drainage.
There is.
Yeah, it all gets funneled down to the
Rosamond.
no, down to our pond down there.
Rogers Dry
We
Lake.
have a retention pond.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, good.
retention basin.
So what I can do is put together a schedule and assign a value to each hangar that the airport owns, and then as the airport acquires more hangars, then we can include that as part of the discussion, what we would recommend in terms of the rent rate for that hangar. The other thing that I'd like to discuss is, if the board has any specific feedback on the escalation plan. So if we do assign a new value to these hangars, what I don't wanna do is hit the customers with a rate increase from one month to the next. So my request is that we ramp it up over a 12-month period, so that at the end of 12 months, then they're paying the full rate. So, does anybody have any specific comments on that?
That seems a little aggressive to me, but
Okay,
I'm assuming it's,
Well, no, because a new person coming in the hangar, they get it.
yeah, a new person, but I think we're talking about existing, right?
yeah.
So a guy is paying,
I think a year's plenty.
Existing or month to month, so if somebody's on a month to month, yeah, I guess that would be existing. So, because nobody really has a long-term lease agreement on the two hangars.
12 months is fair.
so a guy that's paying 150 and you're paying, just assuming 450.
On the box hangers, the box hangers, the data that I've collected so far, the cheapest one is $275, and that's somebody that's subleasing from an existing owner. Our hangars are running at $100, roughly $110 a month. So we would bring those up to, let's say, you know, if we called it $250 or $275 a month. So you go from $100 a month to the $250 over a 12-month period.
That's fair. It gives up to market value.
Without any improvements.
I think, I mean, we could, it really depends on hangar by hangar, which ones need more attention than others, I think.
Yeah, I still think it's a little aggressive.
Okay,
It's not.
okay.
Not raising the rates for 15 years is a little aggressive too.
And I agree with that too. I just think that 12 months, that dramatic of an increase, if it was 24 months. I don't know, it has to be, but what am I getting for my money?
Right.
You're gonna get pushback, and I understand they're cheap. You can't get any.
They can decide to go somewhere.
And they've been getting a
Or sell
discount for
their
the last
airplane.
15 years.
Which a lot of them will do, if they can.
I'm okay with the 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. And I think this is good to do this for another reason. Over the years, I've heard complaints from property owners in town that are under.
Oh, I think there's huge value. It just, to me, it just at a quick glance looks aggressive. But I agree, they need to go there.
I think in the
We're
long
gonna
run
regret
too,
not
Mike,
doing this if we don't.
I think in the long run too, that we're getting more money to put back into the hangars to bring them up to par, so you're getting a good hangar for your place.
Right. And we'll try to do that simultaneously as the ramp up happens.
And I wouldn't want to pay full pop for a hangar that's full of holes and, you know, a foot of standing water in it every time it rains. There's obviously some discounts that need to go there
Right.
to allow for that.
Well, like I
But
say,
at
I'm
a
just-
certain point in time, we need to fix those hangars and bring them up to the par of everything we own.
Absolutely.
I might be tear those down.
It may be, and it may cost more to fix them than to, in that case, you just leave them as storage. If they want to deal with the water, you rent them cheap and
They
they
have
deal with the
aircraft
water.
Sure,
Anyway,
Mexico
I'm
water.
good with this.
Okay, so I'll plan to do that for next meeting. I'll come back to the board with the schedule for assigning a price for each hangar. Does anyone have any comments on the range, on the price range, or the square footage amount, or anything like that? That's probably gonna be the range that I'm proposing. So that the most desirable hangar is 50 cents a square foot, like every other hangar that's on the flight line.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Might want to come back also with a change to, as Al suggested, the schedule, so we don't have to change it.
Change for the technical.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Okay.
Okay, anything else on your report?
I don't think so.